contractors that were working for the FBI had bought up all the hotel rooms. There was not one hotel room left in Burns. And what's different from that is back during the beginning, when there were a lot of people there, a lot of those people stayed in Burns. But at this point, they bought up every hotel room. We called and checked, and the hotel said, nope, they've bought everything. So we had to end up going to Bend to meet with another 2 hours drive. In other words, we got to Bend at 2:30 in the morning and then had to set the alarm for 4:30 to get up and go behind the FBI with Michele. The last thing Michele told me before she left out with the right behind the FBI car was, do not lose us, do not let us get separated. So we're driving this 2 hour drive from Bend to Burns, and they stopped for gas. We lost them for a minute because we were late taking off. We were trying to catch up with them, and next thing I know, we're miles, and we finally get a text from Michele telling us what mile marker she's at, and we're actually miles and miles ahead of them at this point. So we stopped at a rest stop, waited for them to pass, and fell in behind them. They knew who we were, the FBI did, because they knew we were following, and they knew our vehicle. So we stepped in. So it was the FBI in a little small SUV or minivan. Then there was Michele and the two attorneys in a pickup truck, and us, me, Shelley, and John Moore behind them. Well, we didn't follow along very long before they pulled off in front of us and ordered Michele out of the pickup truck and into their car. And John Moore, we're on the phone with the Idaho representatives, and they're saying, don't let them take her away from you guys. You guys stick together. You're all working this together. And so John Moore gets out to run after him and tell him, no, you're not taking her. She's staying. We're all staying together. But he only got a few feet out of the car, and they took off. And they took off. They were driving 60 or 70 miles an hour the whole way, which we found kind of odd because they were late and they had an 8 a.m. Time they were supposed to be there. So next thing you know, they're driving 100 miles an hour. I think they were trying to lose us. But Mike, he's awesome. The attorney, he was right on their tail, and we were right on Mike's tail. So everybody's going 100 miles an hour, and then they go through a little town it's a 35 mile per hour zone, and they're going 85 through this town. So wow. Nice enough. The roads were long; you could see way in front of you, and we stayed with them all the way until they got to the airport. But it was a crazy ride. It was nerve-wracking because we had no idea what was actually going to happen here.
Well, we have a situation where the people fear the government instead of the government fearing the people. And look, the fact that the government, and let's be clear, I mean, I'm hearing from people down in Burns, and I just want to warn people down there too. I'm getting reports that the FBI is going around from house to house. They're trying to get people to turn each other in. They're asking questions, who took food out there and who did what, and do you know anybody? And of course, the loyalist people that support the tyranny and that don't like what the Patriots did, they're turning in their friends, it sounds like. And I'm not saying that all these people are getting arrested, but the FBI is trying to collect information. So look, be very careful. And this might be something I'll discuss in another video, but just remember, you don't have to answer questions. I don't care if they're local police or the FBI. If these guys show up at your door, turn a camera on and you ask them the questions, or you answer or just don't talk at all. If they have a warrant, I'm not saying pick a fight with anybody, but these guys come to people's door and they start asking questions, and people are kind of like, wow, the FBI is asking me questions. I guess I better answer. You don't have to answer questions of anybody. You have a right to not answer questions, and I just want to make that clear. But okay, thank you for that, Tony. Michele, let's kind of take this back on track now. So we kind of heard what happened and things went down. What's going on right now? Because look, I mean, Patriots all over America made a commitment to have these guys back. And a lot of people are asking, well, we've seen the tyranny. We saw the setup and the assassination of Lavoy Finicum. And personally, I don't even think it's open to dispute. I think it's completely clear. And then we saw the FBI trying to escalate. We saw the Patriots trying to de-escalate, and the Final Four going out of there peacefully. But now they're locked in a cell. They're locked in these courts where the judges and the prosecutors and everything are all on the same side. And from talking to you, because it sounds like you went down to the courtroom, it was pretty appalling. First of all, what happened in the court that next day? How is David doing? How are the others doing? Because there's lots of others that are being arrested too. I mean, basically they're rounding up dissenters at this point. Where do we stand now? So I guess, first of all, what did you see in court?
Okay, so when under Thursday afternoon, we headed back to Portland to basically pick up where we were supposed to be the night before.
Right.
So we headed back to Portland, and we went and we visited with Ammon Bundy. So myself and Mike Arnold and Lissa Casey went and did a contact visit with Ammon Bundy. We talked to him, and we told him what happened. And understand, Ammon was expecting us that Thursday morning in the jail. And instead, I want you to think about, put yourself in Ammon Bundy's shoes right now. So Ammon wakes up Thursday morning, puts, they have TV or the news because he's not in solitary anymore. He wakes up Thursday morning to his attorney and his assemblywoman is in Burns. The 4 that are at the refuge are coming out, and his father is in jail locked up. So he's like, what happened in 24 hours, because because his attorney spoke to him, and we were going to be meeting with him in the morning. None of this was happening. Yes. So this was Thursday night. And then Friday, we go to the courtroom. Now, here's the big kicker. We go to the courthouse, and, we go through, it's kind of just like going through an airport. You have to go through security. We get up to the courtroom. We're in courtroom 11B as in boy. This courtroom only seats 36 people. There's over 100 people in line to get into the courtroom. Now, Mike Arnold, the other legislators, we're probably number 50 or 53. We got there an hour early, and by the time the courtroom doors opened, there was over 100 people. Mike Arnold, the superhero again, goes to the front of the line and says, listen, I have Assemblywoman Michele Fiore here. She promised these people that she would be here with them. Would anyone please give up their space in line just to make sure she gets in? And a woman did. There was this very nice lady, and she gave me her space in line. So at least the 4 that, I told them I'd be there for them would see me in court with them. And so when I got into the courtroom, I was so disappointed. Well, first of all, before I got into the courtroom, Gavin, I had to give the security my phone, and then they gave me a ticket. So I couldn't even have my phone in the courtroom to text or to let my legislators that couldn't get in the courtroom know what was happening. So there was zero communication in the courtroom. And I'm looking around the courtroom for cameras. So this way we can order, like the transcript and the video of what's happened. There's no cameras in the courtroom. There's no way of knowing what happened in that courtroom unless you were in the courtroom and you have a photographic memory to rewrite everything. And so I was disappointed in that. And so I got to see, the 4, and then I got to hear a couple more that came out. And one really sticks out was this 25-year-old, and his name was Jeff Stanek. And he served in the Army for 3 years, honorably discharged, just a cool, clean-cut kid, had an armed security job. He was supposed to be starting Wednesday. He's not even convicted yet, but he's not allowed to be on social media. I mean, all of the rules, and these are just fast notes that I was taking, all of the conditions that this guy, that they put on him, and he's not even convicted. And he can, he can't have a job as an armed security. So now they're basically taking money away from him, and he's not convicted. He can't have firearms. He can't be in a home where there's firearms. And if there are firearms, they have to be locked in a safe. I mean, are we going to tell the intruder or bad guy, wait a second, let me open up my safe and get my shotgun? I mean, right. I was so hurt because every time I would hear the judge or the U.S. attorneys against Americans, that was another thing that just ripped my heart apart. We're in this federal courtroom, and it's the United States versus Americans.
Right. Absolutely.
It's just appalling.
Well, and okay, I just want to pause right there because we got all these people listening to the live stream. I want people to really let this sink in because we need to understand this. I mean, Ammon knows this. Yes, the battle we're in is in the courtroom right now, but the courtroom, by and large, justice in the courtroom is lost. And what we're really seeing here, and just think about what Michele just described, and I've seen this in the courts. I've been arrested in a courtroom for trying to stand up and say, hey, you guys got to follow the Constitution. And so the message here is very clear. These are not constitutional courts in any fashion. And we don't even have to get into all the conspiracies about constitutional stuff and this and that. I mean, on the surface level, these are secret courts, guys. These are secret courts. They're intentionally scuffling people away where the populace cannot watch. They're preventing cameras from being in the courtroom. And we've got to do something about this. I don't expect much justice from these courts anyways, but I can assure all of America this. If we do not get cameras and publicity in those courtrooms, just like we did by getting publicity to the Final Four on that refuge, every single one of these trials will be a kangaroo trial. Even if we do get cameras, we are going to see lawless rulings and lawless behavior from this bench. But the light of day on this would make a lot of difference. We have to start demanding that these courtrooms be opened up and that all this be put out there. These are secret courts. And so they're spinning and they're playing games. Oh, well, you can get a transcript later, or you can do this, or you can do that. That's not a public court. The court is a quintessential public forum. And for them to be preventing all of this stuff, and they're doing it in the name of false security. Now, picture this. Basically, it sounds, Michele, like we have the judges saying, well, we're afraid of what people might do to us, so we don't want our faces out there. They have no problem taking the Patriots' faces, sending them out to the news media and saying, hey, write an article about how these guys are terrorists, even though they've been convicted of nothing, and we're going to lock them in a cell for the next few months and see what happens, and we're going to control this message the whole way. These are secret courts. They are lawless courts. This is not due process. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a kangaroo court that you're seeing right now, and you need to understand the gravity of the situation. The courts are not operating under the rule of law.
Well, then here's the other scary part. As I'm hearing like the judge question and ask questions, I am first of all, I have a few weapons and a Glock handgun. Yes, it's a firearm, and yes, it shoots bullets, and yes, I get that. But when a judge is talking about a Glock, let's say 17 or whatever the Glock was, as serious weaponry, I'm thinking like an armored vehicle with an M50 is serious weaponry. A hammer that a bad guy on crack takes to someone's skull is serious weaponry. So when you're listening to as a pro Second Amendment individual, you definitely understand verbiage that is anti Second Amendment. Right. And then I'm sitting here thinking to myself, oh my God, they're setting these trials for April. The prosecutor is going to get everyone on that juror that is anti Second Amendment. Like I'm petrified. I am so scared of the courts being unjust, and I don't even know. I'm lost for words.
Well, and let me just fill in for a second there then, because I can guarantee you guys they are not going to get due process. They're already not getting due process. And this goes back to Michele's comments earlier. They're sending people out of these courtrooms and releasing them on bail and demanding that they don't even communicate with the public. The only criminals here is the government and the courts, guys, right up to these federal judges. And I don't know the federal judge's name offhand, but we need to start getting that out there. People need to know these people that are abusing the law. This is not a court of law we're dealing with. This is a court who is in every sense breaking the law. And make no mistake, I mean, when a judge says, oh, I'm going to release you, but you can't you can't put anything on Facebook, and you can't talk to people, and you can't tell your story. This isn't law. This is